All right, today we're going to be covering the last lesson of the year, and we did lesson 103 already. We're going to do 104 now, and this is a combination lesson. So on 103 you do the odds, and on 104 you do the evens. So this lesson is talking about arithmetic and geometric series. And before, what we've done is an arithmetic sequence and a geometric sequence. The difference is the arithmetic and geometric series mean that you add the terms. So the answer that you'll get will be the sum of the first n terms. So that's a series. All right, so if you look at the top of page 587, they've gone through and developed the formula for the sum of the first n terms in an arithmetic sequence. So it's n divided by 2, n meaning the number of terms, times a1 plus a sub n. So the first term plus what the last term, whichever one you're finding the sum of. So in 104.1, we have an arithmetic sequence has a first term of negative 10 and a common difference of positive 20. Use the first 4 terms of this sequence to write a series and develop the formula for the sum. Then use the formula to find the sum of the first 11 terms of the sequence. All right, so we need the first 4 terms. So we have negative 10, plus 20 would be positive 10, plus 20 would be 30, plus 20 would be 50. So there are the first 4 terms. So the series is going to be negative 10 plus 10 plus 30 plus 50. Remember, we add the terms. All right, so we see that the sum of the first and the last term, these two, which is this right here, is 40. And the other two terms, these two terms, the sum is also 40. So that's half of the 2 pairs, isn't it? Okay, the answer, negative 10 plus 50 is 40, and then 40 plus 40 is 80, and then we take 4 divided by 2, so then we know that the sum is 80. If we put in negative 10 plus 50 and 4 over 2, what do we get? And that's what we said we get when we added these together. Now, we don't want to have to add them all. That's why we came up with the formula. So the formula is this right here that I have at the top of the page. Okay, that's the sum of the sum of the first n terms in an arithmetic series. Now it says we're supposed to use that formula to find the sum of the first 11 terms. So the first 11 will be sum 11 equals 11 over 2 times, well, we need to know the first term is negative 10, that doesn't change, but we need to know the 11th term. So remember, the 11th term is A1 plus 10 times D. So A11 will be negative 10 plus 10 times 20. So that's 200 minus 10, so the 11th term is 190. That's what goes right here. All right, so then negative 10 plus 190 is 180. And then 80 times 11 halves, it's easier if you leave it as a fraction because it'll cancel. 2 goes into 180 90 times. So that will be 099, 990. Okay? So that's for arithmetic sequences. Now let's turn to page 588. Now we're going to go through and develop the formula for this, the sum of the first n terms in a geometric series. So remember, a geometric series is A1 plus a1 times r plus a1 times r squared plus a1 times r cubed plus dot dot dot, and then the next to the last term would be a1 times r to the n minus 2, and then the last term would be a1 times r to the n minus 1. Okay, so to develop this series, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this equation by a negative r. So negative r times s sub n will be a1 times negative r actually is going to line up over here. And then this term times negative r would be minus a1r squared. Then this one times negative r would be a1r cubed. And then there's minus a whole bunch of other terms in between. And then we would have minus a1r to the n minus 2 minus a1r to the n minus 1. But the last term is actually going to be minus a1 times r to the n. Because when we multiply r to the 1 here, this negative 1 goes away. Alright, so now what we're going to do is add these together. And so what happens is all of these terms in between cancel out, and we're left with s sub n minus r s sub n is equal to a1 minus a1 r to the nth power. And we're trying to solve for the sum of the first n terms, so we'll factor out the s sub n, and this will be 1 minus r. And then to get s sub n by itself, we divide both sides by 1 minus r. So there's the formula. All right. So then on 104.2, it says, develop the formula for the sum of the first n terms, which is what we just did, and use the formula to find the sum of the first 9 terms. So we're looking for S9 of the first 9 terms in a geometric series whose first term is negative 8 and whose common ratio is negative 2. All right, so here's our formula right up here. So S9 will be equal to negative 8 minus negative 8 times negative 2 to the 9th power, got confused with the last example, divided by 1 minus a minus 2. So S sub 9 will be minus 8 plus 8 times 2 to the 9th is what? 256, and it's a negative. That's minus, oh, hold on a minute. Yeah, that's fine. We should get the same thing. Hold on. I didn't factor the numerator part of that formula, which we could have done, but we should get the same answer, because this would be a1 times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r.